Hello, everybody at the What's On at Elephant and Castle Facebook page. I'm Nick from Retribe, and joining us once again is Sola Egbale from Real Talk Mentors. He's back again, folks, on our live. It's been over a year, Sola, since I've spoken to you in earnest. So glad you could join us. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm absolutely great, Nick, and it's a pleasure and honor as well to be here again. You know, as we said before, I haven't spoken for over a year. So much has happened, but it's great. It's just great to be back, having a chat with you. Because as you said before, it's so easy chatting with you, Nick. It's just great, man. We just vibe and we just say how it is, isn't we?
Yeah, I pushed the go live button a few minutes early just because it is so easy talking with you and I enjoy it so much. And we have had some amazing conversations in the past.
Yeah.
And I know just catching up with you over the next 45 minutes is going to be awesome. I know you briefly just said that you weren't feeling very well over the last few weeks. You caught the COVID. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, you see that it's even hard to admit that because I thought Iron Man, strong man, immune system's up there and that, but I'm good now. I'm good now. Thank God. I mean, it did, as I said, it sort of crept up on it unawares, and I know my immune system was down of recent, some point June, July, and it's weird because all through the main part of it, when we first heard about it last year, I was just good to
Mm,
go. I think we had a chat then, didn't we, around sort of May, June last year, and we were going through it. And that was one of the reasons we started doing a lot of the stuff online anyway, just to see how we would get through it, particularly as men, but as a community.
yeah.
So we thought we can't go out. Let's get the Zoom, let's get the online stuff going. And so all through that, we were doing, I don't know, 3-4 sessions online a week, for over a
Yeah.
year. And then, as I said, this year, sort of June, July, hit me. And it was literally because I said I sort of maybe overdone it. Immune system was a bit weak, and then just sort of creeps up on you. But no, seriously, over the last few weeks, I believe I've recovered. I'm good. I'm good to go. Yeah, raring to go actually. With renewed vigor and renewed zeal and
Yeah,
passion and love and
you're looking
everything.
You're looking good. You're looking good. And I can see that you've created a bit of a studio. You've got some nice merchandise. It's all, when did that all come around?
all aesthetics. It's all part
Yeah.
part and parcel. I'm learning that. I'm sort of old school. I'm just learning all these gadgets and all these sort of bits and bobs. But it all helps. It all helps, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, you mentioned the studio. Yeah, we use a studio up in Canary Wharf. It's called Hex Space up in Canary Wharf, Pepper Street.
Hmm.
And so we've got some good stuff going on there. On the media circuit, the music circuit, and it's all about really just being able to engage more with young people in the community. People talk about hard to reach um, youth. I don't believe that. I believe that if you engage with people, if you really make it, if you're really intentional about wanting to engage with people, you find out, what people's needs are, and then you're able to form some sort of engagement. And hence the studios come along, and we do a couple of sets in there, trying to get more social interaction going on now. Obviously all these restrictions have been lifted, so we do a few
Mm.
sets in there. We have a men's platform, men's wellness platform. I think we'd started it when we spoke last year. No, we hadn't. We hadn't. So we do it. Yeah. So we have a men's wellness platform. We have a women's wellness platform, and we have a young entrepreneurs platform. So we've got the
Mm.
three elements of family life, if you like. That we hit separately. We deal with separately, and then every month we kind of bring it all together, so that everyone has some sort of input and connection. And it's been great. So we've been doing that all, as I said, through the lockdown period, and we've tried to make a bad situation better,
Mm.
and very good. And yeah, that's where we are right now, Nick.
So, Sola, you talk about engaging with youth in urban environments. It's
Yeah.
something that a lot of people try to do. A lot of people are really good at doing it. I've seen it over the last year. So many people, trying their best to reach out
Mm.
to marginalized and conversation. And
Yeah.
I find, like, how do you find starting that conversation, especially when you become like, your guys of our age, and the youth are like, that we want to try to engage with are in their mid-teens, and they kind of think that they know it all, like we did at that age too. How do you find is the best way to, or the ways that you found have been successful in starting
Mm,
that engagement, starting that
mm,
conversation?
mm. Yeah, I mean, for a start, I don't think it's something that one can learn, Nick. I think it's something that's going to be in you. Um, I always say this, that look, you can't take somebody from somewhere that you've never been,
Mm,
right? You can't lead somebody from a place that you've never been yourself, that you've not encountered, you've not experienced yourself, because then that kind of compromises the realness of the whole thing. And so, as we call ourselves, real talk, it is all about just being real. And I think once you're transparent and you show that, look, I understand, I get it.
mm,
It forms it forms a way, and it forms something that, there's some sort of connection. Yeah. I think too long, maybe you mentioned generations there.
mm,
And I'm believing that we're changing a mindset. We're resetting the mindset of a generation now, because in our generation, yours and mine, Nick, we're young at heart, and so on. But I'd suggest that in our times we didn't have this connectivity with our elders, with the elders.
mm,
We were kind of just more seen and not heard. Does that make sense? Um, and so now we're flipping that, so we're sort of changing up the narrative, where, look, we're saying real talk is all about having, that platform, for young
mm.
people to have their voice as opposed to our voice. So we're saying, look, you come, let's express yourself. You have a platform now. You have an opportunity to really say how it is without any fear of recrimination, or, of anything. Um, it just goes back to that, because a lot of this, I mean, real talk was born, I would say, out of my own personal experiences, Nick. And so I use a lot of that, if you like, a lot of that sort of natural, um, sort of input, you know,
Mm,
engaging with young people. As I said, just understanding, or having an understanding, should I say, then, of where they're at and how they're looked at and how they're viewed, and the stigmas and so on that can be put across.
yeah.
I think it's more than that. I think when young people see that you're being real and being genuine and really, are looking out for their needs, as opposed to you having an ulterior motive,
Yeah.
I believe that then it starts to happen. So, for example, through summer, we were running some paintball. We took some youth down to paintball in Cobham, and great. No, it's an all weather activity. I mean, even as it is now, it's caning it down. But we'd be out there. We'd tog up, get out there, and just roll about, literally roll about, run about. You know what I mean? And just you build that camaraderie. You're showing that, look, we're on the same level. You get hit with the paintballs and that, and it's like, oh, you know what I mean? And everyone's just laughing, and um, that's engagement. And then from there we can, you have a conversation. We get to see and identify what a particular need is. And so we use more informal ways rather than the formal structures. It breaks down barriers. And when
Yeah.
when the young people see that we actually love what we're doing, um, as I said, it's just showing that we have a real passion for
Mm,
them. All these adages about the youth being the next generation and the future. Well, we've got to start showing that. We've got to really show it and live it. And I believe that when they see that, it's able. I think another facet that helps me is that keeps me kind of young in mind, young in spirit. My own children. 29-year-old, 26-year-old, 15-year-old, and then an 11-year-old granddaughter. So it sort of keeps me grounded.
mm,
And obviously nephews, and yeah, it just keeps me very grounded. So
yeah. It's wonderful that they've got you, and it's wonderful that the young people that you are mentoring have got a guy like you. Because what I've learned a lot, Sola, is that over our human evolution, we've always had, you know I mean, we've only been here for like a small amount of time, like this part of the
yeah,
species that we're in now, but the tens of thousands
yeah,
of years of evolution that went into us getting to where we are now, there were different facets and different fears and different survival. It was about survival. And now
that's right.
we're protected. We have food. We there's different ways to find partners. There's all these kinds of things out
Yeah,
there. And I think that the challenges that we had to go through, and that our ancestors had to go through to get to where we
mm,
are no longer available. So it's the learning, the ways to learn language, the ways to learn how to provide, the ways to learn how to communicate are no longer there, because
That's right.
it's done through this.
Exactly.
It's done through fear. It's
Yeah.
done through judgment. Social media is a drug.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for the youth of today, because they're just being bombarded with all of these images and these
That's
ideals. Right. Many come from broken families with you know, either not an influential female or not an influential male in their life. So they're just trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
And it just must be, I mean, I just, my heart kind of, it flutters when I see people like Emma Raducanu be successful, and everything that she went to get to as an 18-year-old, and everyone's going out there, who's going to be the next Emma, who's going to be the next Emma, when all these kids just want to figure out how to survive. You know, where's the mentorship for them? Where's the coaching for them? Where's the positive role models for them? And I think that this is where any man or woman who has been through stuff in their life can put themselves out there, just to be in a place, like you said, experience leads, just to say to people, I've been there, and not just that I hear you, but I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
What can I do to support you? What do you need from us? You know, and I think there's a big difference between hearing the youth and listening to the youth.
Definitely. And I love what you said there, Nick. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're so right. Sorry to cut in. No.
Go ahead.
No, you said some key things then, because you know, not just hearing but listening. It's easy just to hear something, isn't it? But are you listening? Are you taking in? Are you absorbing? Are you digesting and sort of ingesting what the real deal is, what the situation is? Yeah. Look, you mentioned
because everybody
media,
talks about what it's like. Everyone talks about what it takes to be a real man or a real woman. And really, you know, like I say, like the challenges that we've been through in the past are just no longer there. So how do we help the youth evolve? How do we help them to come to these challenges where they're going to learn something and grow and learn a language, not like a language, but how to communicate, rather than just kind of, you know, putting them into these boxes. And saying
this is it. This is it, Nick. I think a lot of it goes back to the fact of, look, and I go back to the elders as well, parents, and young people, I should say, because we fall into kind of traditions, don't we? We fall into things of how they were done before. But the fact of the matter is, obviously, as you said there, the world's changing. It's changing fast. And to a degree, then, we've got to start to unlearn what we've learned and relearn. Yeah, because you've got to tune in. If I start to do things, you know, with my children, the way that things were done for me, it's going to be a problem. But that doesn't mean we shed certain principles and morals. No, it just means that we've got to unlearn. You know, things have got to be tweaked, and we've got to relearn. But what it is, what you know, what's in between that relearning? What's the medium? So when we talk about media is a medium. Yeah, it's what's that mediator? What's the thing that's in between that's sending that message out? Yeah, and I believe this is where we come in, because if you know, if the mediator or the media is sending out a flawed message, a wrong message, obviously, so dangerous, isn't it, for the people listening, i.e. young people, and you know, this is where again I believe that, you know, all of us, we need to, as a community, because you know we you know, look, you know, I think we put so much emphasis on, you know, on so-called powers that be, whatever you want to call it, but I believe that there's so much responsibility on our shoulders as community. You know, what's the family nucleus? What's it all about? Who are the elders? Who are the people in the, you know, we talked to last time. It takes a village, to raise a child. You know, we've hit that, and that button there. I would say, well, okay, but what kind of village? Who are the village? Who are the members? Who are the elders? Who are the participants? Who are the extended family? Who are the uncles, the aunts? You know, who are they? Where are they? Where are we? And I think, to be honest, Nick, I think it's a duty of every adult to, you know, to perform some kind of mentoring role. To be honest, so even though you may not officially bear a title as a mentor, we are anyway, based on the qualification of an experience or some experiences in life.
Yeah. Well, you find that most people who do put themselves forward for mentorship positions have been through something, and they want to try to pass things on and live a life of service and helping others. But I love what you say about unlearning, and then relearning, because it's something that I've got to do. as a 50-year-old white privileged male, I've got to learn that my father taught me things that he thought was right.
Exactly.
His father taught him things, his grandfather. And so it all went down this line of generational teachings from out of a war. So they had these beliefs coming out of a war about stay-to-itiveness and mental toughness and resiliency and what it's take to be a real man, and you don't cry and you never ask for help. And this thing just went down and down, and this is where it needs to be, I think, severed,
broken, destroyed.
Where we need to go. That didn't even serve them back then. It doesn't serve us today. We need to become more compassionate to ourselves, unlearn this thing that I can cry. I will honor my crying because my tears are here to teach me something. And when other men cry around me, we can just go whoop whoop, cry brother, cry, because we're designed to cry.
Well, and then can I just pick you on that bit there about being designed to cry? I was saying it to somebody the other day. I love what you said again. Look, because we're talking about men with the feminine side, and and women with the masculine side. And I said, but look, at the end of the day, look, the tears thing you just mentioned there about the crying. Look, we were all made, we're all designed with tear ducts. Now, if we've got tear ducts, it means that some tears need to fill them and drip down. They're there for a reason. So, as you said there, if we're suppressing stuff and this generational, traditional stuff where, and then you end up penting up all these emotions, you know what I mean? The anger, the frustration. I remember years ago when my late father died, and, I was in shock when you hear the news and so forth. And then it's not till later you see it suddenly hits you. And I remember, a tear or two, I cried. I'm not ashamed to say it. And I remember an uncle came to me and said, shall I, what are you crying for? What's up? You shouldn't be crying. And I was like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? You don't know the link that we had. You don't know the relationship. You don't know anything about it, but you're seeing this thing face on. And so we shouldn't be, we shouldn't have to suppress our emotions. But it's, again, the case of Nick, as you just said there, it's what people have learned generations past. And so, as you so correctly said, this is what we really encourage, in our organization, is that, this unlearning stuff and this breaking these barriers, so the next generation don't, they don't have those as stigmas. They don't have those as hindrances and stumbling blocks to where they need to be in life. Because if you're carrying baggage that doesn't need to be carried, right? You're carrying emotions and carrying anger and all these sentiments and emotions that just don't need to be carried. Let's release them and move lightly. Yeah, let's release them and move without these burdens. There's enough challenges in life, isn't there, already? Without having stuff that you're going to be carrying, and there's just no need. There's no need to carry it. We need to loosen up and just get with it. And as I said, we're really trying to. We are not trying. We are having that engagement with,
Yeah, and I think it is happening. So, like, we are in the time. Like, I was talking to someone the other day, and I was talking to them about this program that we're developing called Tough and Tender. Okay. And I'm like, so how Tough and Tender is basically, it honors the toughness and the resiliency of masculine traits, but it nourishes and accepts tenderness and compassion and love. Yeah. And he said, Nick, he goes, it's great. He goes, but this side, when you talk about tender, he goes, it's too woke. And I was like, what? He goes, it's too woke. People, and he's my age. Yeah. He's white. Yeah. He's got, and he's, and he thinks that me just saying the word compassion and tenderness are too woke. And I was like, are you kidding me? But this is, I'm not saying it's a battle, but these are the hurdles that we need to kind of get through, is that man just needs to be talked to in a certain way, not talked to, conversationalized with in a certain way, to ask him about his experience with what was his relationship with his father, where was the tenderness, and a few little words. And he was like, my dad never told me he loved me.
Can I ask you something? Because you're touching on some areas now, because a lot we're doing it, because look, so when we look at culturally, and even culturally, I don't even want to really use that word, because we can start to unpick that word and see that, you know what I mean? It's like, what is culture? That's another. Yeah. We'll have to have another debate on that. But look, sure. as a white man, yes, senior man, and as a black man, senior years also. What you're saying, I'm hearing some very strong similarities, in terms of what you just mentioned a minute ago. Like, okay, you were never told, not you personally, but maybe not told that you were loved, coming up and so forth, not that tenderness coming from the father and so forth. So that shows that it's not so much a cultural thing, is it? It's more like a kind of generational thing, because we have those same discussions amongst Black men, African Caribbean men. But what we're saying is the reason we've tried to focus, or we have been focusing on men of color, is because we felt that a lot of our needs were not being met in the society. Now, having said that, we're gradually getting to see that mindset kind of has a ripple effect, if you like, into other communities. Yeah. And so we're not trying to marginalize anything. What we're basically doing is looking at men, all men, and saying, well, look, hey, look, this also happened with me. You know what I mean? And we're coming from two different kind of backgrounds. So it's more like a generational thing, as opposed to using that sort of cultural.
Yeah, I think that if we talk about it as black and white, it's a division.
Yeah.
And it's something that that divides us when we have a commonality. Let's forget about the bit that divides us, which is the fact that we're from different parts of the world and our skin colors are different, but we're united from the fact that we have been taught certain things around what it's like to be a real man that have hurt all of us.
Exactly.
And by us all becoming more compassionate to ourselves and then to others. So that's when we change the system.
You need to come on our,
and that's
you need to come on our set, right?
Oh yeah.
You need to come on
I'm
our
always
men's,
there for
on our men's wellness thing. I'll send you an invite on that, because no, it's profound. This is this is where we need to be at, because then you kind of throw that invitation out, if you like, to to all men. Men are Nick, if we just talk about from the men's perspective, men are hurting. Men are seriously hurting out there, and women also back us up on that knowledge. They do. They tune in with that and say, look, you know what I mean? How is this going to change? How are we getting these the mindset, but we have a theme called the ROABM. ROABM basically stands for the reconstruction of a broken man. And one of our team, one of the Real Talk team, he's giving him credit for for bringing this up. He's brought it to Real Talk. It's his concept. He leads out on it. And we've had some real discussions, on purpose and alignment, who we're aligned to and what we're aligned to. Coming to the understanding that to get that to be reconstructed as guys, to unlearn what we've learned and so forth, there needs to be a renewing of the mind, and it's got to be a renewing on a daily basis, isn't it? Every day, because we wake up every day, we learn something new. You've got to have a teachable spirit. When that happens, we start to see a transformation taking place. Yeah. And this is where we really want to get men and families too.
I like this idea of it's a daily practice of renewing, but for me it's a daily practice of the removing of my ego, because my ego, whatever happens up in here, is fear-based, is judgment-based, is siloed. I want to be by myself and I want to fix all my own problems. If I have a process of reducing that ego to going, I want to be connected, I want to be in community, I want to be accountable, I want to take things that take me out of myself so that I can start living from here. And I think people say that it's not that far, so like a foot, but it's one of the largest journeys I make in life, living from head and ego and fear into heart-centered work. But it is something that my ego can snap back in a second, so like say, oh, there's a problem there, I better sort it out, rather than taking a step back and saying, oh, I need to breathe here, I need to meditate, I need to ask for guidance, and then all of a sudden the answers come. But it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of people to say, I've been there, to have these tools and these certain principles to live life by, to say, oh, let's all try this. And live a life of connection rather than siloed individualism.
And you see, I mean, there's so much synergy, Nick, because you're saying things. Look, you hear a word coming off my lips quite a lot now about collaboration. And what you just said there is obviously the opposite of this individualistic mindset and behavior, because again, traditionally, isn't it, we've been taught to compete, and that if you
Yep.
fail
Oh yeah.
if you
Yeah.
fail when you're
Yeah.
competing, that
Yeah.
you're useless, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's been fed into us, isn't it? That's what we've downloaded over
Competition.
yeah,
We are in a world of competition. You know, the last 50 years, it's all about keeping up with the Joneses, beat the Joneses,
exactly,
get the better car, get the faster
yeah,
car, get the nicer watch,
yeah,
and all of this stuff, which basically just pits me against you,
exactly,
right? And I was listening to a neuroscientist named Andrew Huberman. He does a beautiful podcast. You should check it
okay,
out. But he talks about when the brain is the happiest,
mm.
and they study the brain when it's videos of puppies and kittens, food,
Food, that's
procreation,
always a good one, yeah,
and then like a
yeah,
Rubik's cube, a puzzle. And the
okay,
brain lights up when the puzzle comes in. And he
okay,
puts it down to the fact that for us to get to where we are, human evolution, we've always been challenged.
mm.
We've got to take down that wildebeest. We got to figure out how to preserve the meat. We got to build a
Mm.
shelter. We've got to challenge ourselves to get that fruit up high in the
Yeah,
tree because it goes really good with. And so we're always challenging. And now
yeah,
we're into this competition, which is I've got to beat you. And that's put us into this silo,
yeah,
of individualism, which
yeah,
is I got to beat you. Rather than us elevating each other, we're trying to compete against each other. I shouldn't really do
yeah,
that,
yeah,
but you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
Like I'm milking a cow. Um,
I thought you were driving there actually, but yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
another story.
Okay, that's what we'll say it is. That's what we'll say it
Yeah,
is. I was driving a car,
but
but
yeah,
yeah. So I love what you say about the idea of like, why do we have to compete? And I think the great venue to do this is in the sporting world,
mm,
because I think if we can change the sporting world, we can start to because that is so prevalent in the
sure,
in the world of sport culture. Again, it's
sure,
masculine
sure.
stuff of being tough. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But the
another.
thing, yeah, but the thing is that okay, when we talk about, I mean, I think things have just got to be done in moderation, haven't they? And you know what I mean? In the right way. If something's done overly, it just becomes, I don't know, an obsession,
Mm,
doesn't it? It just becomes way out. Because I think in sport or in any part of life, I believe there's got to be a degree of competition. I think it's when it spills over into
yeah.
some manic nonsense. That's where we have that problem. You see, we don't exercise maybe enough temperance and patience,
Hmm.
and just the raw basic instincts of love anymore. Um,
Yeah.
in society, and again, look, we talk about society, but society doesn't just happen, does it? Society is made up of communities, right? Communities are made up of families. Families are made up
Mm,
of individuals. And so,
mm,
as I said, again, what we do is we go to the roots of the situation. Look, we can have so many discussions. We see so many podcasts out there, so much online now. We're stirring situations around, and we're very rarely see it. My question is, okay, that's good, sounds great, brilliant, but what's the outcome? What is the
what's the action?
solution that you're going to put?
Yeah.
Exactly, what's the action? Because if there isn't any action, it's just a total waste of time. And it's again where sometimes to a degree we get fooled because our time gets stolen. Our time is stolen, isn't it? You know what I mean? We have 24 hours in
Mm,
a day. How much of that time are we actually using, in a super productive way? Yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes you've got to be still. Like I said, when I was ill that time there, a few years ago, I would have been so frustrated and just up in myself and I need to get up. I'm missing this, I'm missing that. But you know what, Nick? I was actually, I wouldn't say in my element because I had had that thing, but I was still and I was at peace.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to think, right? And it allowed me to refocus, right? And
Did it
so
allow
that
you
those
to
people,
think, or did it allow you to be guided?
well, good one. I was able to think and then be guided. Very good you said
Mm,
that. Yeah, because when you just think and then there's no action. So what you just said there, it fits in. So I was able to think, and then the action was I allowed myself to be guided. Yeah,
mm,
and then get up and get on with it, and just came out seriously, came out sort of firing on all cylinders. Um,
yeah.
and so it wasn't a waste of time. You know what I mean? It's something that had to happen. Sometimes when bad things happen to us, and they happen to all of us, um,
It's a
we
reset.
got to we got
Mm,
exactly. It's a reset. It's a reset button being pressed, and I think we've got to start to realize that and acknowledge, and even to a degree embrace it, you know, and just put it out there, not take it as you know, as a negative thing, you know. But yeah, going back to this you know, the collaboration and stuff,
frozen?
I think, yeah.
Oh,
Am I frozen? Am I
yeah,
back?
I thought you. No, I thought
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. Okay. Fair
You
enough.
know, Sola, I think that yeah, the whole idea around the society, the cultural ideologies that were put into,
Mm.
and we were learned from a young age. For me, those are unlearning, and I'm realizing that the measure of me isn't the money in the bank. It's not the car that I drive.
Exactly.
I think it's actually my internet that's busting up a little bit.
Is it?
But you know, what it is for me. Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know. I just got a weak signal coming up on my
Yeah,
screen, so I'm
it
not
flashed
sure.
up. No, you're good. I can hear you. Can you hear me though?
Okay, well,
Your
yeah, I
picture's
can
good.
hear
No, but
you. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
flowing. It's flowing. It's flowing. It's flowing. It's flowing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I used to think that the measure of me was what I was taught at school, which is to,
Sure.
you know, get the degree, get married, you know, get the
Yeah.
house and all that stuff. And I realized through my journey is that those things just I however much I tried to fill inside with, it didn't work. I was still left with emptiness and loneliness and feelings of inadequacy and fear.
Sure.
And it wasn't until you go through the process that I went through to realize that the measure of a human, the measure of a man for me,
Yeah.
is the positive impact that we make on other people's lives.
Sure.
And there's no money that you can put to that. It's just literally how do you go about the day and you fit into society as a positive, productive member of the communities that we're part of. And those, to me, that's when you talk about action. And that's when we talk about how are we going to help other people unlearn, you know, the things that we've learned in the past to then relearn about community and connection and compassion. Yeah. So it's about I love awareness, but it's all about the action that we need to take and guide
Is
people
that
to take
definitely,
actions
definitely,
after.
definitely? And I think that's where people like that's where people like
No,
yourself
carry on.
and ourselves come in, where we can, you know, flag it up, and then, you know, something be done about it. You know what I mean? Engaging, as I said, engaging, you know, with community, in the community, and, you know, really galvanizing the community by doing what we do on a consistent basis. Because sometimes we start things, we stop because of lack of this or whatever. But I think it's people want to see a consistent move, and I believe that's happening. I believe that really is happening now, and it's just really just, you know, you know, letting the levels be you know, be topped up and enhanced all the time.
I agree. I think it is happening. I think it's just now us, you know, people being in a place where they can just start pushing, just nudging, nightly nudging things along the way. But I also think about action is that we've always been we're a race of people that like to build stuff. You know, we can build really high buildings. We can build really fast cars, but it takes effort and action to come up with the idea, to blueprint it out, to plan how you're going to build it, to get a workforce together that's going to be happy to build it. And that those are the same kind of things that we can take into this relearning new things. And I know that's something that Melissa and myself and a couple of other people are on about, developing a curriculum where people can actually learn different ways of taking action around the issues that we're talking about today. So what's with regards to Real Talk, what are your kind of plans over the next few months?
So okay, look,
and your mentor programs.
Leading up to that. So I didn't even mention. So we've just recently been sort of officially accredited, if you like, as an employer of young people. And so we've linked up. We've got sort of link up with the DWP, Department of Work and Pensions, where young people are sent over to us, over to Real Talk. They work with us like a kind of trainee sort of apprenticeship sort of thing for a 6-month period. We take them on. We then mentor them into making them more employable. So it's again pulling all those barriers down, in terms of communication, leadership skills, timekeeping, team building, being a team player and so forth. And so they come and work with us. They are on site over at the studio. We do some online stuff like this as well. And it's just developing them, and they absolutely love it. They absolutely love it. And you know, the program that we run at the moment is called Assets for a Generation. Yeah, and so Real Talk, you know, being known as an organization to be an asset for a generation, and in the same breath, you know, we're showing the young people that they too can be assets for a generation also. So it's a nice dual approach there. Yeah, they're absolutely loving that. I said that all this comes from, you know, from that engagement. You know, as I said, we mentioned the paintballing stuff we've got going on. We've got the music stuff, the media stuff, the Young Entrepreneurs platform where, you know, we're hearing so many different ideas and concepts coming from young people. Listen, Nick, they are absolutely revved up and just raring to go. And you know, look, when you're hearing from 20-year-olds and 22-year-olds and that, and you know, what's coming at them, I'm thinking, I thought, well, I wasn't like that when I was that age, and I didn't have that. You know what I mean? I didn't have that kind of stepping stone to do that. So it's great to see them like that, but then they've been able to express, you know, because then, you know, it gives you hope that, wow, well, if you're like this now, saying things and doing things that I didn't know until I was in my 40s, but you're knowing it and doing it 20 years pretty sort of earlier, then there's, you know, there's hope. And so I believe that kind of attitude will also have a ripple effect onto their peers as well. Yeah. And so whatever way that they need to, you know, to express themselves, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Whatever needs to be tweaked and fine-tuned, so be it. But let's have that raw blank canvas going on. You know, create those spaces, those safe spaces, you know, for the young people to, you know, to speak and, you know, to sort of get info and awareness raising and action out there. And just let us be, we're there sort of as in the guidelines, you know, as facilitators. So I said, so we're doing a lot of work as up in Canary Wharf at the moment. We've got stuff going on over in northwest London, over in Brent. You know, where we're partnering up with some local authorities and different organisations over there. In South London, yes, you know, we're doing a few little bits as well. I want to start making some moves over in your neck of the woods as well, Nick, over in the Elephant and Castle there. In fact, one of our team is there sort of 4 or 5 days a week, actually. I think you've met him, Stephen.
Yeah. Steve, I was gonna reach out to Steve too, to get him on another live. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, he's still very much on board with us. He's you know, he's one of our directors within Real Talk now, because what we've done, we've actually restructured the whole organization, and so, you know, we've got some great people, a great team building that built up varied experience, you know what I mean, lived experience, as well as the, you know, sort of whatever qualification, but all merged together allows us then to, you know, have that reach out and to connect with, you know, with people across the board. So there's a lot of work going on, but it really now for the next few months, it's about sealing this getting back to this social face-to-face interaction. You know, I love this, but at the same time, Nick, I want to see you face to face.
We need face to face. But Sola, I'm really interested. When someone new comes to you, a new youth, they come to you. What are the things that they flag as being things that they're concerned of? So I know you talk about like a 21, 22-year-old who's quite ambitious, but what about somebody who comes to you with concerns? What are the concerns right now that this generation are flagging?
Well, look, you mentioned before about you mentioned, I think we touched on about broken homes, yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's something again that we can't just treat as blasé. You see, again, going into the root of the situation, what is the reason for the breakdown of relationships, and then what's the offshoot? You know what I mean? What's the sort of damage control that happens when a young person's in that environment? Look, and it's not even a case sometimes of, you know, the man or the woman not being there. Sometimes it's not a case of, you know, if you're not physically there, sometimes you can be there but not there mentally and emotionally. And these are some of the areas that we're hearing sort of trickling through that. It's just that engagement and the communication. And so when they have a third party like us, you know, being involved to a degree, we're able to, you know, we kind of start to repair the breach, if that makes sense. Yeah. And bridge that gap of communication. So I would say one of the big things is the lack of communication, which then, as I said, through the engagement, because, you know, when we talk to young people, one of the things that we are doing is making sure that we will also have some kind of connection with with the parent or with the elder one of the family, because there's no point in dealing with the young person and the young person's going back into the household and you're sort of back to square one. There's got to be some kind of understanding and some knowledge of what that young person is doing, and then sort of not even so much getting the consent, but getting that sort of understanding again with with the parent, and getting to understand the dynamics that are going on within the house or within the family structure as well. So I believe a lot of it is going back to this whole thing of family, to be honest, Nick. It's getting to the root of that. We did we did a program again a few weeks ago, literally just called it Mum, Dad, Are You There? Just left it open. Mum, Dad, are you there? Saying, look, are you there? Are you here for us emotionally? Yes, we know you're nurturing us and providing, but all the other elements, are you there? And that had a bit of a run as well. So
when you said that, it hit me in the heart.
Wow,
that's powerful, man. Mom and Dad, are you there?
Yeah.
So I guess obviously a lot of the concerns of the youth today is that there's the insecurity of the family environment that they're living in. But let's kind of go to the other end of their ambitions.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know what young people come to you. I know you've got a studio and music's a big part of it. What are the dreams and aspirations of some of these youth?
Yeah, so again, I mean, you can imagine, obviously, what they're seeing out there, and that's why I mentioned media before. I said, look, the mediator, that source of mediation is key. And so, when they're aspiring to sort of copy or emulate some of the stars out there, and they're making loads of money and they've got the fame and so forth. Look, man, we weren't designed, Nick, to handle fame, right?
No.
We weren't designed to handle fame. And this is where we have a problem. So we're trying to create that balance and say, well, okay, look, you can aspire to be the best at this, the best at that, but there's got to be some kind of grounding. Yeah. And I love what you said there about the personal, we're going to build ourselves. We're going to be able to rebuild ourselves just the same way we build an object, right? Or a company. There's got to be structures in there. And so it's all about that. So yeah, people can aspire to be, they want to, it's fast money now, isn't it? It's about fast stuff. But I know that the fast stuff, it doesn't last. It doesn't sustain.
It doesn't fill anything. No,
it doesn't at all. No. And so it's having that kind of knowledge, and you kind of smile to yourself and you think, I was once where you were, I hear you. And this is where the connection is. So when they can sort of hear a voice of reason, not trying to shoot their dream down, but at the same time, kind of bringing some kind of level-headedness in there. And so, as I said, aspiring to be, get into the music, the music thing, the sports and so forth. It's the same as it was when I was there. I don't think there's anything that much different. Property, look, we've got a guy now who's really, sort of trying to promote things outside the box. So we're in this system, we're in this country, but are we looking further afield? Are we looking at opportunities that we could possibly have? Are we looking to Africa? Are we looking to Asia? Are we looking outside the box? Right? Are we looking to areas where we spend so much money in? We're just always consumers, right? Can we flip it? Yeah. Can there be a change? And so it's more this sort of, as I mentioned before, this entrepreneurial aspect that I see a lot of young people sort of, really aspiring to that, the property and so forth. Yeah.
That's amazing. It comes down to, I think, for me, what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling from what we've talked about today is that, how can we help people get a relationship with themselves, through doing a bit of work, knowing that mom and dad are doing the best that they can. Sure. It isn't about you, you're a beautiful human being and you're here for, a reason. And let's kind of, I think that's the thing is that I used to blame my mom and dad for a lot, but they did their best. They did do their best. And I think that it wasn't my fault what happened to me, but carrying it along was not helpful. And it made me want to do these certain things and have these certain things to try to fix something that, wasn't fixable by having those certain things. And it was about having a relationship with myself and then helping other people get relationships with themselves. So that once we know who we are, my business partner says it all the time, you can only meet somebody as deeply as you can meet yourself.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, with this generation of they're smart, they're tech savvy.
Very smart.
Um,
They are. They
and I
are.
think that if we can just help them get a relationship with their beautiful talents and abilities, I
Yeah.
have complete and utter faith that we are going to be okay.
No, I believe, you
You're
know
going to
what,
be
Nick?
okay.
Nick, I believe I'm a believer we're on the same page here, because I say, look, you see, they're tech savvy now, that they know what's what. I mean, when we're still fiddling about with it, they're just on it. And
Yeah.
I just think you see, going back to this communication, if there's a merging of those concepts, you know what I mean, a merging of, you know, us guys like us, ladies, you know, ladies of our sort of generation, and then just being accepted that, look, you know what I mean, we can you know, we can help. And to say, look, we don't want young people looking at us as dinosaurs or old, you know, old hat, you don't know what's going on. And at the same time, we shouldn't treat the youngers as kids who haven't got a clue,
Yeah.
because they have got a clue, more than a clue. I mean, look, I was talking to a 15-year-old the other day, I tell you, Nick, and what I heard coming out of this guy's mouth, I was just gobsmacked. He was like a young man, but in a 15-year-old's body. And I was just like, man, this is you're going to see this guy will be a leader. He's a future leader, you see. And so you know, it's about nurturing that and encouraging that and motivating them, you know, to have that, you know, to really aspire, but also to have a kind of level of groundedness. What you said earlier about our parents, yes, look, love our parents dearly. And just like yourself, I blamed my parents for a lot over the years when I was, you know, coming up through my teen years and so forth, blame them. And I carried that blame and that thing in me for, you know, right into my 30s, early 40s, to be honest. And it wasn't good. It
That's no
wasn't
good.
good. And it doesn't keep you in a good place. And then that even over spills into your own personal relationships, everything. And, you know, like just like yourself, when I put it down, I saw color again, right? I saw life again. And I thought, wow, you know, and it is, as you rightly said, this relationship and this understanding of oneself, you know, and knowing that, I mentioned the word alignment before, and knowing who one is aligned to, I think is so key.
Yeah. Well, Sola, we've come to the end of our time, my friend.
Oh, wow. Already?
Just flips by, doesn't it, eh?
Where's Melissa, by the way? Say hi to her.
Melissa she's watching, so you can say hi to her now.
Okay. Hi, Melissa. How are you? Long time no speak, long time no see. I'm sure we're going to hook up again soon anyway. But just
I think we will. I think once we get let's get together soon when you're feeling like, I know you're feeling a lot better now, but let's meet up in Southwark for a coffee in the next week or two. Okay.
Yeah, definitely be great. Whereabouts are you down there anyway? I know you're more near Elephant.
Right now I'm based in Soho, so I'm right in the middle now.
Okay, you said okay, perfect. All right. All right, let's
more
work
than
it out.
welcome.
Let's arrange it. Let's get it on. Yeah.
Let's do it. And Sola, how can people get it? How can people get in touch with you?
Yes, okay. Instagram, you can DM us on Instagram, Real Talk 24/7. So that's Real Talk and the number's 247, or just drop us a line, info@realtalk247.com. Yeah, those are our two main channels. We are on Facebook, as we see here. It's just Real Talk Mentors. And then Instagram's the main source, and obviously just look for us anywhere you see that logo there, and the old we're good to go.
All right, I love you, man. You be good.
Nice
okay?
one, Nick. Yeah, you take care, man.
All right.
God bless you. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And
have a good one.
Don't forget, Elephant and Castle community, that I will be here on Thursday at 11 a.m. for a Tough and Tender chat. Okay. Talk to you guys later.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.